Star Wars Rebels Episode 5 Out of Darkness. I was glad to see that this episode mainly focused on the girls in the group because we really haven't gotten anything out of them. I think they are the two characters that we've gotten the least out of. I feel like we get more out of Chopper than we do out of them, even though he's a droid. I mean, if he was like a human character, we'd have, I feel like, a ton more info on him than we do on the girls. So it was cool that this episode focused on them. It didn't focus on them nearly as much as I thought it would. It was them, like, overall, it really did focus on them, but it seemed like it was sort of split between like them and pretty much everyone else, except for Kanan. Kanan was kind of like on his own practicing in the Force, which I thought was pretty cool in this episode when he was sitting and meditating. And it was a really small moment, but it kind of shows that he is taking things seriously, where he's going to train Ezra, and he's doing that because he kind of has to train himself to get back into that full Jedi state of mind. So I thought that was cool. It was a minor little thing, and of course, just like in pretty much every episode, something's happening with the Force, and it seems like, he sensed that they were in trouble, and it's like, no, I just heard you guys yelling. So they always seem to do that in every episode. They find a way to have the Force happen, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. We get a cool little moment with the Force, and then right after that, it's a silly joke that is either like the Force isn't working because Ezra couldn't do it the way he wanted to, or in this episode, he didn't need the Force to do that because they were just yelling outside of his door. So I enjoyed that little bit. Getting to see Sabine and Hera fight off the little creatures at the end was pretty cool. It gave me sort of the feeling of like the movie Pitch Black. That's kind of what I always think of now whenever a monster is like, oh, it can't be in sunlight. If it's not actually a vampire, I just think of the creatures from the movie Pitch Black. And if you haven't seen that, then sorry if that doesn't really help. But the creatures in that movie were, they were basically killed by intense forms of light. So I always think that, and that's kind of the feeling I got in this. And the girls had to basically fight off these different waves, and they're just basically being led back because there's so many of these creatures, and there are only two of them and three guns. Sabine has two, Hera has one. So it was cool to see them fight off these creatures, and then by the end they were on their last leg and they were just shooting these creatures down, and it was really cool, and I enjoyed that. We got to see a little bit of just, I guess, sisterhood, I guess, in this episode, and I enjoyed that. I really thought that was cool. We also get a tiny bit of story. That's what I was really hoping for, was that this episode would be super focused on them, and we get like way more story out of it as far as their characters. But I feel like it kind of was a missed opportunity because based on the way they did this episode, it seemed like it was like the focus is like it's Sabine and Hera. We've gotten them the least, so now they get their whole episode together, and we get to see how they interact with each other really, and we get to learn more about them. And we kind of don't. We learned some stuff about Sabine, which I thought was really cool. We learned that she was in the academy, that she is a Mandalorian. She was on Mandalore when she was training for with the Empire, and she followed them wholeheartedly until she realized that things weren't exactly the way the Empire says they are. So I thought that was really cool. We got like a quick little answer. It was just like, she is Mandalorian. She worked with the Empire, which wasn't something I expected either. I just, that was just a part of the whole thing. Like, how'd she get the bounty hunter armor and stuff? And it's because she's Mandalorian and she worked with the Empire, and she realized things weren't exactly how they should be. And she's starting to feel that way again. Like, are we really doing things good? Like, are we actually the good guys right now? So I enjoyed that, and her questioning Hera, and Hera kind of having a lot of different answers for kind of like the same question. And even Sabine says, like, how do you answer a question, and still leave room for more questions, like, and you still don't answer it after everything you just said. But I thought it was really good. Hera was kind of saying, like, she would kind of switch back and forth, and that was the thing that really caught my attention, especially in the first part when she was first talking to Sabine, and she would first say like, we think this, and then she would say like Kanan and I or we, and she would keep saying like either her or Kanan, and then right after she'd say that, it would go from whoever it was, either her or Kanan, to we. And I thought that was really interesting. It would be like you could tell which decisions were his and which decisions were hers, but she would kind of screw up trying to make it that they would both just decide like, all right, we think this and we think that. But that's just not how it is, and she wasn't really too good at hiding that fact. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting. Her trying to say like, hey, we have these answers because we believe it's for the greater good, but really it's just either her making a decision or Kanan because they are the top two. So it's not exactly a joint decision. One makes a decision and the other's just like, all right, that's what you think, then that's what we go with. And they both have that, which I thought was pretty cool. It's not just like Kanan makes the rules or anything. They both have, they're both the leaders really. Kanan's like the Jedi and Hera's like basically everything else. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty cool. And she just has to get Sabine and trust her by the end. And even in the end of this episode, Sabine says that she can try to trust her. It doesn't. It's not that she actually does trust her. So I thought it was a pretty good episode. It was really interesting and sort of one of those episodes that kind of makes me think because there's just so much going on, but it seems so simple because it's the simplest thing. Like the concept itself is really simple. Sabine just wants to know every single thing that they're doing, and she wants to know these answers. And Hera has multiple answers as to why she can't know all the answers. It's like, hey, you could get captured by the Empire, and I think this is a good choice, and Kanan thinks this is a good choice, and there are some other choices where we both think it's this or that. So I actually enjoyed that because it just shows that as a leader, they both have some interesting decisions that they have to make. And unfortunately, they can't share every single secret with the rest of their team because of multiple things. The Empire, simple trust, we don't really know how long they've been together exactly. Not every single member, how they all joined up or anything. So it's all these different things that we haven't gotten to see yet, all coming into this episode, and we get sort of the simplified version of the answers. But I think they're going to dive into it much more throughout the rest of the series, of course. But I liked the episode. I thought it was good. I do wish it had more of a focus on Sabine and Hera. Like I said, we got the little glimpse into Sabine's past, but we didn't get anything on Hera. We just got her kind of as the leader, and that was really it, unfortunately. And I was hoping that the whole thing would just be them trapped on this thing, like from the very beginning, but they kind of weren't trapped until, I feel like it wasn't until like the middle of the episode. But even before that, they did have their moments. It was pretty much those two, and then other than that, it was just Ezra, Zeb, and Chopper really just fighting in the entire episode. And I kind of like the way they did it, where the ship had the fuel leak, and something kept happening where they wouldn't realize it. That I thought was actually pretty well done. Like they didn't notice it when it first happened, and then Zeb, Ezra, and Chopper kept having their arguments. So when they were fixing the ship, they were just messing with each other and stuff, and then they didn't see the fuel line thing on the scanner, which I thought was just a cool way to do that. Like they just argue all the time, and that kind of led to Sabine and Hera getting stranded in this episode. But I enjoyed it. Biggest complaint is, like I already said twice, I just wish it was more of a focus on the girls. Like if we at least got this stuff on Hera or some form of information, I think I would have liked this episode much, much more. But the only stuff we really get is like she knows more about the ship than anyone else, and honestly, it's like nah. Like Yugi can kind of figure that out because she's the one who flies the ships. So I do wish we got more of a focus. I know we're gonna get more info on all the characters throughout the rest of the series, so I just have to wait for that. But I was really hoping for more of a focus on both the girls, and unfortunately, it just seemed kind of like a regular episode. It had a little bit of focus on the girls, but it wasn't really like here's a focus on them and we get their backstory like we did. And I believe episode 2 is Zeb, where we got like the history of his entire species and everything. And of course, he's like the new character and the new species for the entire Star Wars universe, so it made sense. But that's what I was really hoping for, and we didn't exactly get that in this episode. We got like a super quick glance of Sabine's past, where it was really cool. Like that was probably my favorite part, just because it gave us some actual answers, like how she has the Mandalorian armor, all that. But it just glanced right over it, and then they just kind of rolled that into them sort of trusting each other and slash not trusting each other, which I didn't feel like was something that really should have happened so soon in the series. I feel like, I mean, like I said, we don't know how long they've really been together, but it seemed like they just kind of made that happen so early on. It didn't feel like it was super crucial to me. It wasn't like they went through this really tough experience and Sabine felt like she couldn't trust the rest of the team or anything like that. It was just, I just want more answers because I was with the Empire and they didn't give me any answers like I thought they did. And I believe that because it's easy to believe, but it just seemed really early on, and even with all that, we didn't get too much information on the girls. But, you know, just gonna have to wait. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about this one. I kind of feel like I just hated the episode after constantly saying that I wish they'd have more focus on the girls, but I enjoyed the episode. It was a cool bit of action. The comedy was pretty good. Also, I almost forgot this, but like the little scene at the end where Sabine saved Ezra, like we knew he had a crush on her from like the first episode, and he was like, thanks for saving me. And she was just like, don't look too much into it, kid. And she just kind of like takes off. And I love how they did it. It was a super quick thing, but Zeb like put his hand on Ezra's shoulder, like, sorry, buddy, like it's not gonna happen. And I thought that was an interesting scene. Like he was really hopeful about it. Like she saved my life, and this is the girl I like. And she's just like, he's just the kid, and I don't really give a crap. I saved him because I'm one of the good guys, and I'm gonna save people. So that was something that just stood out to me. I don't think they might end up getting together. Who knows? But that was just he likes her. He has a crush on her, and it was just like I just saved you because I'm a good guy. So that was it. But like I said, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about this one. Your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and I think we've pretty much got to focus on every character so far, like outside of Chopper because he's a robot. But if you had to pick another character or pick one of the characters to get another episode that was focused solely on them, which character would you pick? I mean, we had the stuff with Zeb, and I feel like they can't really go too much further into that outside of just flat out doing flashbacks on him on his home planet and stuff. But I'd actually like to see a lot more about Ezra because we don't really know a lot about his parents and stuff. And as much as I'd love to learn more about like Sabine and Hera, I mean Ezra is like the main character, so I'd like to see his past life and also Kanan. And admittedly, that's mostly because I want to just see a bunch of Jedi in the show. And if we did flashbacks for him, we'd get to see him at the Jedi Academy and stuff like that. And I would love it. I think my favorite thing would be if they ever did a flashback for Kanan and it took place during the Clone Wars and when everything just went nuts and you see him kind of dealing with this basically complete teardown of the entire Jedi Order. I would love it if they did that as an episode sometime down the line. They probably won't do that, this season if they end up doing it. But I would love to see that because that would be an amazing emotional episode for his character. Like we could see his struggle of just flat out quitting the Jedi Order in general because I feel like he kind of wasn't too far into it anyway. He was just kind of doing it because he could. And then we'd get to see him dealing with that as well as the emotional side of people are just dying. Like Jedi is his people almost because like once you're a Jedi, it's almost like you're a totally different race of something. So almost like his people being killed off. I'd love to see an episode focused on him and just sheer flashback for him would be pretty amazing. So that's my thought. But like I said, comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.